Hey, man.
I've been expecting you! Who are you?
I'm the hero destined to save this land from the evil pig guy.
Ah, the follies of youth. I remember when I took down the evil platypus man. Anyway, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Ah, thanks. I mean, I'm still by myself, but hey, at least I have a sword now. Thanks, old man.
Wait! I have plenty of other things I could sell you for your adventure.
Oh, like what?
Well, like the blue candle. You could use it to burn nondescript bushes in the world, but not all of them. It doesn't work on all of them. 10 rupees.
Oh, thanks. I could use a blue candle, I guess. Awesome.
What about this jar? You could stuff fairies in it. Don't forget to put holes in the top. Or you could play tennis with it. I don't really care. 20 rupees.
Oh, thanks. Don't think I can play tennis with this, but sure.
Or take this red candle. It's statistically better than the blue candle that I already sold you. 45 rupees. I think I sold the first one for 10.
What the fuck? I just bought the blue candle for... Fine. I'll take it. What am I supposed to do with the blue candle anyway? Whatever, I'll keep it.
Also, it's a terrible night for a curse, so take this in case my old friend Dracula shows up. You never know when you're going to need a decorative lawnfish. Oh, and you never know when you want to form Voltron. I could also trade you my most prized possession. I don't know what it is or what it does, but I picked it up from a crazy weekend in Cancun. Oh, me and the missus had such a good time. Oh, the bitches. Well, it's been a pleasure doing business with you, Link. Yes, it's all here and accounted for. QVC, here I come.
Where am I even gonna carry all this stuff, man?
Well, I don't really see how that's my problem.
Wait a minute. If you had all of this stuff, why didn't you defeat Ganon years ago?
You tried beating Zelda 1 without a guide, bitch! Ah!
Hey everyone, I'm MJ The Gameboy and welcome to RatedMJ. And it's that time of the year again, Zelda Month, my favorite holiday. Now, for those of you who don't know what Zelda Month is, here's a brief history lesson. See, back in 2011, this peanut boy decided he really wanted to play Skyward Sword when it came out. So he dedicated the entire month of November to reminiscing and playing old Zelda games on his YouTube channel. All in anticipation for the release of Skyward Sword. It's like worshipping a false god. So yeah, being a big fan of the Snickers player, I really wanted to talk about Zelda for Zelda Month. See, I felt it was appropriate to do my first Zelda video during Zelda Month, and here we are today. But what about Reese's Pieces? What is he doing for Zelda Month this year?
I'm not doing Zelda Month this year. I'm not doing Zelda Month. We're gonna do Mario Month again. We're gonna do Mario Month.
No, you try to celebrate the holidays, and then you get people like that. You just sort of. Well, even though Peanut Butter Gamer's not doing Zelda Month this year, I feel like I could still celebrate the holiday. What better way to talk about Zelda Month than starting off with the OG? How long has that been there?
Ah, here it is, the beginning of the series. Man, what the fuck ever. The adventure game of everyone from the 80s. I don't have a lot of personal history with this. I do remember playing it as part of the Zelda collection for the GameCube, but it didn't grab my attention as a 7-year-old kid, so I passed on it.
Was I really missing out on this game? What kind of secrets does it have in store for me? And who the heck is Zelda? Well, only one way to find out. This is Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
The Legend of Zelda, The Hyrule Fantasy, a game beloved by many and all, created by Shigeru Miyamoto. The game was inspired by his childhood of exploring caves and bushes in the countryside by his home. Miyamoto originally wanted to call the game The Legend of Something, but co-creator Takashi Tezuka thought that name was stupid, and decided to call it The Legend of Zelda. They chose that name based off American novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda Fitzgerald. The game was being developed simultaneously with Super Mario Bros., meaning that The Legend of Zelda had a lot to live up to coming out of the gate. The game was originally conceived as a two-player game where one player would have to explore and navigate the dungeons that were designed by a second player. I like to think of it like the precursor to the Mario Maker series, or the Dompe Dungeon Maker thingy from Link's Awakening on the Switch. And that shit sucked, thank God they didn't go through with it. Yeah, during development of the game, people found that exploring the dungeons was much more fun than making them, so focus soon shifted to an adventure game where you traverse the overworld and explore the caves and dungeons beneath. With the development finally finished, The Legend of Zelda The Hyrule Fantasy came out in 1986 for the Famicom Disk System. Complete with data saving, the game had extra sound channels to make music pop out to the player. And with the Famicom's microphone built into the controller, you can make sounds that would frighten some of the enemies in the world, increasing the immersion, making the Famicom version the best way to experience The Legend of Zelda. If you live in Japan. Otherwise, you get this. I mean, I never really had an inferiority complex until now. Look at this fucking toaster. Yeah, this is the Nintendo Entertainment System, otherwise known as the NES. The popularity of the VHS-looking console is legendary, with most people's roots in gaming starting here, either with Super Mario Bros. Or The Legend of Zelda.
Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
It's The Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octorok's Tech-Tyke's levers, too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda.
Awesome.
Intense.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up. The Legend of Zelda sold separately.
I'm guessing because the game was developed alongside Super Mario Bros., the goal was to have a game that stood out on its own without copying too much from its counterpart. Instead of a side-scroller where you jumped, accumulated points, and cleared stages, you were in an overhead view, where your goal was to explore the world, fight off enemies and monsters, and solve puzzles within labyrinths. And even though The Legend of Zelda's gameplay style is very different from Super Mario Bros., its story is somewhat similar and kind of mirrors it in a few ways.
He plays a small hero guy who has to save a princess who was kidnapped from her kingdom, but it's not like the first game because it's a pig guy and not a turtle. So instead of fighting a turtle guy, you're fighting a pig guy. And it's not a platformer, it's overhead view, so you're going to go around shooting monsters and stuff, and hey, where are you going?
However, The Legend of Zelda does open up with a bit of a backstory. That way the player has some context to their quest. Alright, let's see here. Many years ago, Prince Darkness... Ganon? Ganon? What? Stole one of the Triforce with power. Princess Zelda had one of the Triforce with wisdom. She divided it into 8 units to hide it from Ganon before she was captured. Go find the 8 units link to save her. Whew, that was a lot of 80s jank right there. So yeah, the early days of video game translation weren't that great. But luckily, The Legend of Zelda has had many re-releases to amend and retcon the story to something that we can expect from the series today. But honestly, I feel like it doesn't ramp up the lore and intrigue as much as it should. So please, allow me.
Long ago, within the land of Hyrule, there is said to be a sacred relic known as the Triforce. The unified Triforce is a combination of 3 distinct forces: power, wisdom, and courage. When unified, the Triforce has the ability to grant the desired wish of those who have obtained it. However, the Triforce of Courage has been lost, leaving the Triforce incomplete. The evil Prince of Darkness, Ganon, invaded the Kingdom of Hyrule and stole the Triforce of Power. Ganon seeks to steal the Triforce of Wisdom in an attempt to not only unify the Triforce, but also rule over all of Hyrule, plunging the land into fear and darkness. The ruler of that kingdom, Princess Zelda, wields the Triforce of Wisdom. Realizing Ganon's ambitions, Princess Zelda divides her Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments before Ganon's minions abduct her. In secret, Princess Zelda has also sent her trusted nursemaid, Impa, to search the land for someone courageous enough to stop Ganon and his forces. This is where your adventure begins. You play as the courageous lad sent on this quest by Impa to locate the 8 scattered fragments of the Triforce of Wisdom, unify it, defeat the evil Ganon, and save Princess Zelda and the Kingdom of Hyrule. Now, canonically in this legend, the courageous hero is known as Link, as Miyamoto wanted the character to represent the link between the game itself and you, the player. But I call him Buttface because fuck your canon.
So, with the story out of the way, let's talk about gameplay. Starting off, you'll notice that Link is one feeble fuck. You really can't do anything besides walk and cower behind his shield. However, one quick trip to the cave in the top left corner will net you your first weapon. Sword. Given to you by the old man who says, "It's dangerous to go alone! Take this!" Then he disappears, ditching me in this stink dark cave. So I'm still alone, I just have a sword now. Yeah, I don't think we can trust the old man. Once you acquire the sword, the game structure becomes easier to understand. You're meant to explore all of Hyrule, find the 8 dungeons that contain Triforce fragments, defeat the boss of each dungeon, and collect the Triforce piece. Link's basic sword attack is mapped to the A button, with Link himself being able to attack in 4 directions, up, down, left, and right. When Link's at full health, he can shoot a magical sword beam. It's a long-range projectile attack that's a godsend for dealing with enemies. There's nothing more frustrating than getting hurt and having Link lose his magical swordy shoot laser attack. Link's not the most agile fighter with his sword, so you'll have to get in point-blank range if you want to deal some damage to enemies. Or that leaves you free to use whatever secondary items equipped to your B button. As you conquer dungeons, you'll find items that will slowly build up your arsenal and help you traverse the land of Hyrule. Pressing the start button will show you all the items that you've acquired so far. Items such as the magic boomerang, the bow and arrows, a magic rod that allows for more dedicated range attacks, and the Bible, Jesus' weapon of choice.
Repent, bitch!
Link also has a dinky little shield that can deflect most enemy projectile attacks when he's facing them, but it won't do jack shit for magical attacks. You'll have to find the magical shield if you want any type of magical defense, assuming you know where to buy it on the cheap, that is. And your defense is going to have to matter if you want to keep your little Japanese Peter Pan alive. The hearts in the top right corner represent Link's health. You'll start off with 3 hearts, but as you continue on your quest, you'll slowly build them up, either by defeating dungeon bosses or by locating heart containers within the overworld, if you know where to look for them. The amount of damage you take depends on the enemy that's attacking you, with the difficulty of enemies differing from their color. The red and orange enemies are usually weaker than their blue variants, so a red moblin can deal about half a heart of damage, while a blue moblin can deal a whole heart of damage, with stronger enemies dealing more damage. When you defeat an enemy, sometimes they'll drop stuff like hearts, which can replenish your health, a fairy who can replenish a greater deal of your health, some sub-items like bombs, and sometimes rupees, the in-game currency. You can use rupees to purchase items from merchants and peddlers that will help you along your journey. Stuff like the blue candle to burn down bushes, the blue expensive-ass ring that buffs up my defense, the magical shield like I mentioned earlier, and once you deliver the old man's love letters to the old woman, she'll allow you to buy potions. Wait, what the hell is in that letter? Anyway, you can buy the Potion of Life, or the overachieving second Potion of Life. And to me, they always look like bottles of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Ah, but who would drink that weak ass shit? I need Coke to fuel my adventure adrenaline, damn it, I have an addiction! Now, the problem is that all these items in the shops are very costly. Yeah, Dick, all your generic brand items are expensive. Thanks for reminding me I'm not in the 1%. And what the hell is up with some of these merchants? They're so aggressive. Look, pal, I'm trying to save you and the rest of this kingdom from an evil pig wizard who has monsters roaming outside your shop. Give me a discount! Now, grinding for rupees doesn't have to be a hassle. If you're sick of killing enemies, you can find secret rooms with the old man who wants to gamble away all your money. Fuck you. Or you can find secret rooms with moblins who betray Ganon, and they reward you with rupees for keeping their hiding place a secret from everybody.
Yeah, get up, get up, get up! Secrets.
Or you can locate secret shops, which keeps the prices of items more affordable, which is how I bought the magical shield and the blue candle. So as you've been hearing me say this whole video, you gotta know the right spot to blow up or burn down part of the overworld to find certain items and dungeons. I mean, the old man can give you hints about checking out a random tree somewhere in the world, but you can also burn down a tree and the old fucker's dementia goes off as he demands you pay for the door repair.
Oh, thanks for burning away my door, asshole. Come on, pay up. Oh, that's right. Give it to Daddy. Oh, yeah.
So you're probably thinking to yourself,
the least Nintendo could have done is include a map or something. I don't even see one on the start screen.
well, if I can just direct your attention to the top left of the screen, I'll just apply the magnifying glass and the Hubble telescope. Squint a little bit more. Now close your eyes and imagine the scenery of the world. And there you go, that's your entire map of Hyrule. Enjoy.
Bruh.
Are you serious? How am I supposed to navigate through this world when all you give me is a gray rectangle? Luckily, when you bought a copy of The Legend of Zelda, it came with a detailed manual that served as your mapping guide to Hyrule. I like this because it feels like I'm on an actual journey, and this is kind of like my journal. I've just been jotting down stuff about the world as I move along. Well, you have the names of some of the enemies and their weaknesses. Ew. A bit more of the actual backstory, and a map that contains most of Hyrule. Again, it might not be the entire map, but that plays to the adventure aspect of the original Zelda. You still have to explore and discover stuff on your own. The manual is just meant to be something that you can reference as you continue on your quest.
See, this type of forward thinking I really love about Nintendo. They really want to immerse the player into the map and the guide be valuable to us for our time in the game. So why the fuck does it come in a cardboard box?
Yeah, I hate the NES boxes. These are nothing but garbage fodder. This was not Nintendo's best choice for game longevity. I mean, yeah, we all appreciate the cartridges, but what about the cardboard box it came with? The manual! All that gets forgotten and tossed into the garbage without a second thought. Even if you don't throw them away, the cardboard is so susceptible to damage over time. And for somebody like me, I had to pay a pretty penny to get the completed in-box copy of both Zelda games. That one was a gift, I swear. So what if you don't have a completed copy of Zelda, and no manual? Well, you could always use that good old internet to... Sorry about that. You can always use that good old internet to look up guides and maps to the game, which I did for the beginning and later parts of the game, as I feel that you need some type of outside assistance to fully finish the game. I mean, how else am I supposed to know I need to get this guy bait? I've been killing most of his relatives and now I gotta get him a hot meal? Or what if you missed out on the magical sword upgrade because you didn't know how to master using it? Which translates to, you can't use the best sword in the game unless you have 13 hearts, chump! But what if you don't have a manual? Or an internet? Well, you can go ahead and map out your location on paper, just like our ancestors and pioneers did in the 1980s. Heck, even Philip Summers did that, and look how well his drawing guide to Zelda turned out. I swear to God, I'm hoping to get a physical copy of this guide someday. If they ever stop selling out. Maybe I'll pre-order the Zelda 2 guide now before they're sold out. Now, I don't have as much talent as Philip, but I did manage to draw a map layout for Dungeon 4. I didn't know what the names of some of the enemies were, so Virus became blue bouncers, Gels became black blobs, and Likes became pancakes. Speaking of dungeons, they're the labyrinths underneath the overworld that Link can explore to find Triforce fragments. Now, there are 8 regular dungeons that contain Triforce pieces, as well as a plethora of puzzles and enemies to get in your way. And I call them by their map names so I can understand which dungeon is which. Oh, but we better save our progress before entering any dungeons, just in case. Yeah, just like its Famicom counterpart, the game does have a save feature. Is your real life too distracting to sit down and play video games for an undisclosed period of time? Well, at any part in your adventure, you can just save your game and continue from where you left off later, with all your items still in your inventory. Most games on the NES didn't really have a save feature back then, so this is a pretty revolutionary thing to implement, giving the player the ability to save their game. Nowadays, developers don't really trust us to do that shit. Now, we got the Eagle Moon and Manji serving as the first 3 dungeons to get the player used to dungeon exploration. Not too many hard enemies to fight here, and progression in the dungeons is more streamlined than in the overworld. You'll find keys to unlock some doors, a map to get the layout of a dungeon, and a compass to throw away later like a used condom. Also, some dungeon walls have weak spots. Putting a bomb next to it will blow it away and create a shortcut for you to bypass some of the rooms. Next, we have the Snake, Lizard, and Dragon dungeons. Now, this is where the difficulty of dungeon exploration increases, with different red color enemies being mixed up with their buffer blue versions, making enemy encounters a bit more harder, and navigation starts to become a bit more complex as well. And finally, we have the Demon and Lion dungeons. While the location to the Demon dungeon can be a bit cryptic to find, the dungeon itself in terms of difficulty is a cakewalk. No, seriously, it even reuses the boss Aqua Mentis from the first dungeon. But because of that dip in difficulty, the Lion dungeon will spit in your face for looking at it the wrong way. Consider the dungeon as a warm-up for your final challenge, as the enemies in this place are relentless due to their placement and quantity. Now, enemies in dungeons are nothing like those in the overworld. You're in a more confined space, and at most times you can't progress until you've dealt with all of them in the room. Luckily, items you find in the overworld and in dungeons will help you overcome most of the small fry. It's when you encounter certain enemies that your fighting and strategic skills get tested. You got these lame-ass stone statues shooting fireballs, and all you can do is block them. Pole's voices suck because of how much damage they can deal once they touch you, and Wizrobes teleport all over the damn room, spamming range attacks that do large amounts of damage. Seriously, buy the second potion of life for Dungeon 6 onwards. But they are nothing compared to Dark Nuts. These jackasses suck for 4 reasons. 1, you can't damage them from the front as their shields deflect all attacks, so you'll have to maneuver around them and hit them from the sides or from behind. But they're constantly moving and they're good at evading your attacks. 2, if you get hit by one at full health, say goodbye to playing it safe, as your magical sword bullets are gone. You'll need to get up close and personal if you want to deal any damage to them, and like I said before, Link isn't a nimble fighter, so you're gonna struggle. 3, whenever you do fight a Dark Nut, it's in a big group of them, so they're usually blocking the progression to the next room. So assuming that you're not at full health, it's either they all gang the fuck up on you, or to give a tag as you run away after trying to damage them. And 4, they're one of the fiercest enemies in the game, and you give them a name like Dark Nuts? That's like rubbing salt over an open wound. Now, if you happen to die at any point when exploring a dungeon, you won't have to worry about starting from the beginning of the overworld and backtracking to the dungeon you were exploring. Instead, you'll respawn at the beginning of whatever dungeon that you were tackling. Now, as cool as dungeon exploration is, there are a few things about the dungeons that I don't understand and that the story didn't really properly explain. Why are the Triforce pieces in these dungeons? I get that Zelda separated the Triforce to stop Ganon from obtaining the full Triforce of Wisdom, but aren't these Ganon's minions guarding them in the dungeons? Doesn't that mean Ganon already has control of all the Triforce pieces? If that's the case, why isn't Ganon trying to super glue that shit back together? And why are they all still in separate dungeons? Or wait, did Zelda hide them there? Then does that mean these bosses are working for Zelda? But then why am I killing them? Aren't they Ganon's minions? So do these creatures know what they're getting into? Or is somebody forcing them to stay down here and guard these Triforce pieces? And more importantly, who put Aguamentus in charge of 2 different dungeons? Hire another goddamn boss to guard the room! Screw it! Here's my resume! Well, we've killed all the dungeon bosses, collected all 8 Triforce fragments to form the Triforce of Wisdom. Now off to face Ganon at
Death Mountain.
Wow, what a name. Next place I'm moving to, I'm calling it Nirvana. So you need all 8 Triforce fragments sent through Death Mountain. I tried to get in without one beforehand, and that was blocked by the old f***ing man! I knew it! This piece of shit been working for Ganon this whole time! Why else does he show up in dungeons, give me vague-ass, unhelpful hints, and now blocks my progression? It's because he's working for the big man!
Whoa, Link, let's not be hasty now. I can always sell you more things. You wouldn't hurt an old man, would you? Would you?
I've done a lot of things I didn't think I'd do in this quest.
So on to Death Mountain. Oh, that's charming. This dungeon is a great example of NES hard. This is nothing but someone's cruel joke. I wasn't kidding. Dungeon 8 is the warm-up to this place. Just look how large this dungeon map is. Imagine going into this place blind. I do not envy kids in the 80s who had to deal with this without any outside help whatsoever. You got enemies just oozing out of every corner of this dungeon. And what the fuck is this? Oh yeah, they introduced a new enemy at the tail end of the game. Why not? Who cares? Not me. Well, at least Nintendo tries to throw you a bone by placing the red hidden-ass ring in the dungeon as the last defense buff. And hey look, it's the Silver Arrows. Pretty cool, right? You're required to defeat Ganon. Can't win the game without him.
What?
Imagine making it all the way here to fight Ganon, you manage to get him down for the count, and you keep stabbing at him and wondering, why is it not working? Guess you didn't pay attention to that really useless hint. It sucks for you, am I right? Or more reasonably is that you missed the arrows hidden in this labyrinth of a maze. And if that's the case, well, that's actually a really good design. Why wouldn't Ganon keep his only weakness hidden in his house? I mean, I do that. Look, all I'm saying is that we risked our ass crawling all over Hyrule to get these items, so why can't I just cook his bacon butt up with a nicely placed bomb? Well, after a couple stabs in the dark and just a tip, Ganon disintegrates and leaves behind the Triforce of Power. Enter the room up ahead and rescue Princess Zelda, ending her quest and making you the hero of Hyrule. Then we get to see the developers who were responsible for this. Who the heck is Esmiahan? Oh right, there's a second quest. By either beating the main quest or by calling the protagonist the wrong name, you can play the second quest. Seriously, can you imagine how many people accidentally played the second quest this way? So the second quest is basically a harder version of the main game, with the dungeon order and enemy placements completely rearranged. Well, alright, let's see what's in store for this second quest. So yeah, I gave it a shot, but I just couldn't finish it. Second quest is its own completely different beast. Maybe one day I'll beat it though. But yeah, that's Legend of Zelda. A great adventure game for all to play, from the overworld exploration to the underworld dungeon crawling.
Thank God I invested in Nintendo.
So we also have the ports and re-releases. Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition came out in 2003, and this was how I was introduced to 20 Minutes of Greatness, as well as the other collection of Zelda games in the series. Including the first game. Along with the updated text in the game, there was also reduced screen flashing, and thanks to the legendary GameCube component cables, I can see this game running at 60 frames per second. Man, it is scary how powerful this Indigo lunchbox actually is. You can also play Zelda in the original Animal Crossing for GameCube, but it does require a cheat device, and that's something I don't allow in my household. I can't afford to spend money on drugs. Speaking of which, I caved in and bought that Hori GameCube controller that I talked about in my Tetris video. Man, this thing feels great. A larger D-pad that feels better than the GameCube controllers, and it just feels really comfortable to hold in your hand. Almost makes me forget how I'm broke now and I can't afford drugs. There was also a 2004 re-release on the Game Boy Advance for their NES Classic series. Now, I don't own this version, otherwise I'd play it and talk about it, but I also played this game 4 separate times for the video. 5 if you want to include Second Quest. So I'm pretty cool with not touching another version for now. Oh yeah, you can also play the game via Virtual Console for the Wii or Wii U by going to the shop and just... Damn. Or you can pay Nintendo monthly to play games that they released 30 years ago. Yeah, the Nintendo Switch has an online membership which includes virtual titles of NES and now SNES games. Here you have your choice of playing the regular edition of Zelda, or you can play the SP or Special edition of the game. Along with the Badge of Shame, Nintendo lets you borrow their save file where they did have to work for you. Beginning the SP version of Zelda, you start off with the blue ring, a full wallet, the power bracelet, the white sword, and hey, they paid off your student loans! Like, they really didn't believe that you could find these items on your own. Which says a lot because the Switch versions of NES and SNES games have the rewind feature, making the feeling of being surrounded not as daunting. I mean, how else am I going to do a green tunic run of this game? Have you played this game? It's hard! And if you ever feel like giving Nintendo more of your money like the consumerist slave that you are, you can order the NES and SNES controllers. These things are just so cool. Their Switch Joy-Cons meant to bring the feel of playing the game like it originally was. I never thought the 80s could be this immersive. So, like I was saying, that's Legend of Zelda. A great adventure game for all to play, from the overworld exploration to the underworld dungeon crawling. This game is bursting with creativity and was a truly ambitious game for its time. Maybe a little too ambitious for its own good. I do like the feeling of exploration and the adventure, but the cryptic hints as well as no clear in-game direction does make the game feel a bit archaic. Even the game tells you to seek outside assistance if needed. I can't in good faith recommend this game to someone unless you have some type of guide to help you out. With all that said, however, overall I enjoyed my time playing this game, and if I could recommend a version to play, I would definitely recommend the Switch and possibly GameCube versions to newcomers of the series, and people wanting a more accessible way to play Zelda. Just be cautious if you're going in blind. But The Legend of Zelda has become just what its name implies, with many games harking back to its origin. And with the announcements of a sequel to Breath of the Wild and the upcoming spin-off Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, a prequel to Breath of the Wild, it's obvious just how important this game is to both video game history, culture, and to the fans of the series that hold these games in such a legendary regard.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the Zelda video. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break after this video, but don't worry, we'll be back next year with some more content. So until then, see you guys later. Say bye, old man.
Oh.